Let's bring in some reaction. We're joined now by Stellenbosch University SRC President Phiwokuhle Qabaka. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, a lot of divisions here, some debate on whether or not this Wilgenhof should be closed. There's the element of tradition and there's the culture in terms of initiation practices. What's your approach and your take as the Student Representative Council?
Good evening, Paul. Thank you for having me, and good evening to your viewers. Our stance as an SRC has been, clear from the get-go. We did release a statement that we welcome the recommendation to close the residence, and we do call for further consultation within our institution or our community rather, for more engagement on this residence. So our take on it is pretty simple. We're hoping for the decision to be taken on the 24th of June, but of course that we do understand that council is comprised of people that do not come from the institution as well, so don't really understand our daily business, who are not on campus with us all the time. So if they need more context into what is being put on the table, then we're in full support of that, and we'll be patient in the process.
That's quite interesting as you talk about the reality of being on campus and the experiences that may have come out of the Wilgenhof residence, because opinions are divided, and in my mind I'm just trying to get an understanding why there would be divided opinions, because there's evidence that has been submitted and it's all very disturbing. So why have divisions? Perhaps give us a little bit more on why you think that there would be a lot of back and forth on whether or not it should be closed.
Of course, it's one of our oldest residents, so there's a lot of people that hold it dear to heart. We also fail to understand why, but there's a lot of emotions that are associated with our alumni and specific residences on campus. And also at the beginning of this, when it all unfolded, a lot of the comments that were put forward was that, no, these things happened a long time ago, there's nothing recent and so on. But, when we trust the panel's recommendations, this took a long time, since Feb. The report was June, Feb, which was only released this month. So it was a tedious process for the panel. They wouldn't have gotten to that decision if, they didn't have enough evidence or backing to make these recommendations. So, but the nature of Stellenbosch University is that there's a culture, and a few individuals, hold it very dearly to heart.
The report also alleges racist practices and abusive initiation practices for first-year students were conducted at that residence. I mean, as that in itself is established and, of course, even acknowledged, what sort of impact has it had on those who've been affected by this?
Well, it's had a great, negative impact on our students of color. I know someone personally, so it has led to academic exclusion. A lot of them just don't feel welcomed within, Stellenbosch. And we're just not obviously sure of the numbers that have left Wilgenhof. And at this point in time, I don't think there is a way of telling of how many students have dropped out because of what has been happening there. But because of the secrecy, I think, that is surrounding the residents and the happenings there, they find it difficult to speak out. And I mean, a lot of what is going around on campus are students here, how powerful their alumni is, and so on. So it prohibits a lot of them from speaking out. So with these submissions, we would really like to encourage literally each and every single past and current student to make their submissions, because it will be anonymous and it will be treated with the confidentiality that is needed.
In your view, as the SRC, what does this report signify?
We feel like it validates all the victims that have come forward, because the issues that have unfolded at Wilgenhof are nothing new. They didn't unfold in 2024. There's reports dating back to 2020. There's reports dating back to the 1980s. So it's nothing new that's been put on the table, and we're just glad that at least the victims feel that they've been validated and that there is great concern within that residence. And we're obviously hoping that once council has received all the evidence that they need, that they'll make the right decision moving forward for our community.
As you make mention of having personal interactions with one of the students who experienced the horror at this residence, perhaps talk to us a little bit about that experience of having to listen to the horrors and understand the personal impact that the experience had on the student.
It so happens to be someone that I actually even went to high school with. So just seeing how they've deteriorated in terms of their mental health and, just their well-being after they at that residence, that was one of the greatest concerns to me, because I feel like they were never the same after they left. We saw the academic exclusion. They had to leave for a year, eventually came back, refused to stay in residence, and then put their life together and eventually graduated. And that's the sad part about it, because once you experience these things on campus and in these residences, you have this mentality that you want nothing to do with Stellenbosch and you don't want to come back. And that's not what we want to see, because we should all be proud for getting our qualifications at Stellenbosch. And that was just really heartbreaking for me. And also being a student leader, then having to be objective as well with my views and, not take it to heart, but, follow the processes. It's been difficult, but it's been difficult to watch those that have been put through a lot in quite a lot of our spaces here, actually.
How much support has the university given to students like the one you speak of?
Well, of course, they've been given, access to CMD, which is our therapy services, to reach out there, especially for current students. So there has been that support, and we've been assured that, they made that offer to the table, that if they feel they're not coping or anything like that, they can always contact Support Us at Sun and seek for psychological help there. So there is assistance in that. That's making us feel a little bit more better.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, perhaps talk a little bit about what you would like to see happen from this point onwards. I mean, you did make mention right at the start of our discussion that you would like to see it closed, but in that, what sort of message would you like to perhaps have, continue as the story closes, but of course recalling what the impact was on many who some perhaps may not have been able to even speak about it?
So, of course, for us, it's closure for anyone that feel that they've been victimized in this residence. That's what we seek more than anything for them to have, is that justice. And also, we obviously have an accommodation crisis. I think it's all 26 institutions. So rather than just fully closing the residence down, then, let's create some sort of other, maybe co-head residence, than rather completely dismiss the residence in itself. And, when we question that, what is the difference between the Qabaka report and this report, we're then told that, our statute, when it has to deal with the assets of the institution, we have to go through this route with council to ensure that, all the T's and the I's are dotted and everything has been done legally. So that's why we're saying we'll be patient with the process, and we trust the processes of the institution, and we'll just have to wait for the outcome and present the evidence to council, and trust that there's going to be a robust discussion and a proper way forward.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Phiwokuhle Qabaka, who is the Stellenbosch University SRC president, speaking there about some of the hopes they have insofar as this matter is concerned.